Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the micro-universe to unpack the incredibly fascinating Phylum Protozoa. We're going to trace their ancient evolutionary roots from roughly 1.5 billion years ago, all the way to the massive and, frankly, sometimes devastating impacts they have on our world right now. If you've ever wondered just how much life, complexity, and sheer power can be packed into a space entirely invisible to the naked eye, well, you are definitely in the right place.
Think about it for a second. How can a complete animal be packed into a single cell? How does just one plasma membrane house the incredible complexity required to live, hunt, reproduce, and even build global monuments? It sounds pretty much impossible when we're so used to thinking about multicellular animals, but protozoa have absolutely mastered it.
Here is our game plan for today. First, the microscopic universe, then surviving in one cell, followed by multiplying and coexisting. After that, we'll look at the taxonomy puzzle, jump into excavata, grooves and parasites, and finally wrap up with amoebozoa and rhizaria.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the microscopic universe. The working definition of a protozoan is very specific. It's a complete chemoorganotrophic organism that operates entirely within a single cell membrane. They completely lack the collagen and chitinous cell walls that you'd typically find in other organisms, but the really crucial takeaway here is that single cell definitely does not mean simple. These guys display a eukaryotic organization that's often way more complex than these specialized individual cells inside multicellular animals like us. They are literally the ultimate biological multitaskers. Moving right along to Section 2, surviving in one cell.
To maintain their internal balance, or homeostasis, protozoa have to be incredibly resourceful. Because a lot of them live in freshwater environments, water is constantly rushing into their bodies via osmosis. To keep from literally bursting like a water balloon, they use specialized structures called contractile vacuoles to pump out all that excess water. They even have mouth-like structures known as a cytopharynx to ingest whole food particles. It's essentially a microscopic digestive system all contained in one cell.
The sheer efficiency of these unicellular life hacks is just mind-blowing. They maintain their shape using a pellicle, which is this firm yet flexible layer of microtubules. Their internal fluid, the cytoplasm, is ingeniously split into two parts, a firm outer layer called the ectoplasm and a fluid inner layer called the endoplasm, which helps them move. They eat by wrapping their cell membrane around food, a process called endocytosis, and they eliminate digested waste through a specialized hatch called a cytopage. And as for breathing, well, because they're so tiny, they just let oxygen diffuse in and toxic ammonia diffuse out straight across their massive surface area.
That brings us to Section 3, multiplying and coexisting.
When it's time to multiply, organisms like Amoeba proteus undergo a process called binary fission. It starts with mitosis, where the nucleus replicates itself, and then the cytoplasm cleanly divides right down the middle to create two nearly identical daughter cells. Depending on the specific species, this split can happen longitudinally or transversely. It's an amazingly efficient way to rapidly boost their numbers when the environmental conditions are just right.
But protozoa don't just live in isolation. Many of them live highly symbiotic lifestyles. This dynamic ranges from mutualism, where both species are actively helping each other out, to commensalism, where one gets a free ride without bothering the host at all. And then, of course, there's the darker side, parasitism. Here, the protozoa absolutely rely on a host to survive. Sometimes they even need multiple hosts, using an intermediate host for asexual reproduction before tracking down a definitive host to finish out their sexual life stages.
Let's shift gears to Section 4, the taxonomy puzzle.
Because these organisms go back 1.5 billion years, their fossil records are surprisingly scant. So instead of relying on outdated groupings that just looked at how they move, modern researchers threw out the old flagellated and ciliate categories. Now they recognize 6 distinct supergroups based on complex morphological and biochemical analysis. Today, we are tracking 4 major ones: excavata, amoebozoa, rhizaria, and chromalvolota. Let's break down a few of the wildest examples.
Starting with Section 5, excavata, featuring grooves and parasites. Take Giardia intestinalis, a member of the Fornicata group. It uses long, whip-like flagella to swim around. But what's really wild about Giardia is its modified mitochondria, which are known as mitosomes. They literally cannot use oxygen. Instead, they rely on anaerobic energy pathways to survive deep inside human intestines, where they cause severe, waterborne epidemic diarrhea that particularly impacts children.
If you think that's intense, look at the zooflagellate Trypanosoma brucei. This protozoan takes a highly coordinated, deadly 5-step journey. It kicks off in the gut of an intermediate host, the tsetse fly. It multiplies there, migrates up to the salivary glands, and just waits for the fly to bite a human. Once it's injected into the human bloodstream, it multiplies again and eventually invades the central nervous system, causing the fatal disease African sleeping sickness. It is a terrifying masterclass in parasitic efficiency.
Finally, let's head into Section 6, Amoebozoa and Rhizaria. These organisms are famous for their shape-shifting pseudopodia, which translates to false feet. But not all false feet are created equal. Some use lobopodia. These are broad, thick extensions containing both layers of cytoplasm, and they're used to forcefully bulldoze through water and engulf food. Others use philopodia, which are thin, thread-like extensions made only of ectoplasm that act perfectly like a microscopic two-way conveyor belt to reel in their meals.
And the diversity doesn't stop there. Some protozoa deploy reticulopodia, which form a branching, sticky, net-like web designed to ensnare passing prey. Others rely on axopodia, stiff, needle-like extensions that are supported by a central axis of microtubules. It's essentially an entire arsenal of specialized cellular tools designed to conquer the microscopic environment. The classic poster child for this amoeboid movement is Amoeba proteus. Usually found hanging out in shallow freshwater ponds, this naked amoebozoan uses those thick, broad lobopodia we just talked about to creep along the bottom and ambush unsuspecting microbes.
But beware, don't let their simple blob-like shape fool you. This group includes some incredibly dangerous pathogens. We're talking about organisms like Naegleria fowleri and acanthamoeba, which can silently infiltrate a host through water and cause severe, often fatal brain inflammation known as meningoencephalitis. Then you have Entamoeba histolytica, an amoeba completely lacking mitochondria that spreads through contaminated water via tough protective cysts, causing debilitating amoebic dysentery in humans worldwide.
In stark contrast to those naked, squishy amoebas, we have members of the Rhizaria supergroup, like the foraminifera. These guys secrete absolutely beautiful, intricate, sprawling calcium carbonate shells called tests. They just sit there and extrude their thin, net-like reticulopodia out through tiny holes in the shell to catch their food. And this is where the microscopic truly shapes our macroscopic world. These forms have been around since the Cambrian period, over 543 million years ago. When they die, their calcium carbonate shells sink down to the ocean floor. Over millions and millions of years, those massive microscopic accumulations created the very limestone and chalk deposits that literally built our world, including iconic landmarks like the White Cliffs of Dover.
It's truly awe-inspiring, and I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. The great Egyptian pyramids themselves were constructed out of this exact foramen limestone. How is it that something so incredibly small, a single cell operating entirely within one plasma membrane, could build the architectural wonders of the ancient world, while other protozoa simultaneously wield the biological power to alter human survival and health on a global scale today? The Phylum Protozoa is an extraordinary testament to the power of microscopic life. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the universe, no matter how small it may be.